This is Michael with Diamond Seed Astrology. Today I am going to be talking about Mars in Capricorn. Mars is going to be ingressing into Capricorn as of the 15th of December. And this is one of the more interesting placements in the zodiac. And when you look at the dignity scheme, which tells us who's exalted where and who rules what and such. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn. This is a interesting thing. Like when I first got into astrology, I learned that Mars was exalted here, and it seemed very strange to me. And it took a while before I really figured out what the reasoning was behind this. So Mars is, among other things, Mars is a soldier archetype. So whenever you want to talk about Mars in any place in the zodiac, one of the things you want to talk about is what's the soldier doing? What is the situation that our war god is in a particular sign? So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and generally Mars and Saturn have a terrible relationship according to traditional astrology, as far as if you have a rough angle or even any angle between Saturn and Mars, it's generally considered a harbinger of bad things. If you have a square between Mars and Saturn, you have a conjunction between Mars and Saturn. Even if you have a trine between Mars and Saturn, which is generally considered a good aspect, it generally doesn't work out well. It's sort of like having two bad guys agree on bad things for you. Again, this can be, your mileage will vary. Essentially, you have everybody has nuances and things about their chart that are unusual, but this is generally true. So why would Mars be exalted in Capricorn? So the soldier archetype shows us that when Mars is in Capricorn is like the establishment power. Capricorn is, when we look at the tree of life metaphor for the zodiac, Capricorn is the root. So we have a soldier who is basically in his own keep, in the place of greatest power, in the root of whatever it is. So this would be like a soldier who's retreated into his home castle, and he knows everything about the territory, basically. Capricorn, this isn't home like Cancer is home, which is across the zodiac from Capricorn. Cancer is home like mom and apple pie, and everything that we love about home. This is more like the power structure at home, which may not really be so good for you necessarily, but if your job is to defend that power center, you're in pretty good shape if you're there as a soldier. Whereas if you're out in the field, in Aries, you have a very powerful Mars, but he's generally going into foreign territory or taking on new things. He's in a foreign land. It's a much more extroverted place to find Mars in Aries, and of course he's extremely powerful there. But you can see with this metaphor that the soldier who's in his home base is extremely powerful, and he's also in the company of the prime minister, or the person who's sort of the ruler of this, the person who's behind the big throne, shall we say, the big chair, the big desk. So this is a seat of power. So Mars in this place can be very cold and tactical, and he has every advantage of being in a place that he knows. There's not a lot of activity necessarily to distract Mars. We can also think about Mars as being the sexual spark, like the libido. And if you look at the psychoanalytical definition of libido, it splits into two, which are the drive to reproduce, the sexual drive, and the drive to self-preserve. So here we are much more in the place of self-preservation. The soldier in Aries has got a lot more of that testosterone going on. Here, this is much more controlled, even like I sometimes say captured by Saturn. Mars is, they're malefics who were in many ways working at opposite for, at cross purposes, but here we have a clear indication that this is where, Mars is under Saturn's rules. So on the 15th of December, this is when Mars goes into Capricorn, and the Sun is about 8 degrees, 7.5 degrees behind, maybe 6.5 degrees behind Mars. So Mars is considered to be under the beams or combust at this point, meaning that you won't be able to see Mars in the night sky, too close to the Sun. So this Mars gets, because he's exalted here, he won't suffer so much from being combust, whereas in other places he would, there'd be worse consequences for Mars. But it's considered to be like a ritual cleansing when a planet is this close to the Sun, and it takes away some of the archetypal strength of a planet when you can't see it at night. So if you have Capricorn Sun in your chart, if you have Capricorn in the 10th house, in the 7th house, or even in the 4th house, on an angle basically, this transit could be significant for you. Generally, this will mean conflict in that area. So if it's in the 1st house, you may feel like some personal conflicts over your decisions, over who and what you want to be. Mars is a lot about individuation. Mars in Capricorn particularly is not so much individuating as much as following orders. And this, there is a natural tension, obviously, between Mars and Saturn that, even though Mars is clearly extremely strong here, because of his soldier-like tendencies, this can bring up a type of conflict. So even if you have a strong planet, but there's some sort of tension, like in an exaltation like this, there's a tension there because this is a soldier who has to like control his urges and be like really tightly controlled, and that like builds up a lot of energy. So in the 1st house you may feel that, like that you're following orders, you're doing the stuff you need to do, but some part of you is like, this isn't going to work for me in the long run. I need to be able to express myself in more ways that are more authentic to myself. So Capricorn is also where the Sun, it's the point of the winter solstice of rebirth. So this is the other like more esoteric reason that Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and it is because Mars is sort of Mars represents rebirth in a cosmic sense. Mars rules Aries, where the fertility of the rising and dying god is rising in Aries, and the word Aries itself is obviously quite related to arise or rise. So Mars is, as I said, this is we have those the this the idea of libido is very Mars. It's it's split into these two sides, and it can become seduced in a way um, by Venus, and mythology shows that too. So there's this very much of vitality in Mars. It's in some ways it shepherds the sun through rebirth. So that's another like more esoteric reason that you would that Mars is exalted there in Capricorn. It's like it's this inner spark. It's like it's giving the sun this inner spark, the desire, the will to live, essentially when it's at its most challenged place, where the sun has, it's the shortest day, there's the least sun. So there's a lot of metaphors here. So anyway, Mars, if Mars, is entering your 10th house, this may be conflict with bosses. It may be a place where you have to become cold and tactical, and you may want to become more cold and tactical in order to get to what you want in your life. Mars here gives you an opportunity to reassess your tactics and your how you're spending energy. This is Mars has got everything to do with work. So Mars in Capricorn, this is a chance to really work your butt off. Just get into things and don't sit. I mean, don't take no for an answer. Essentially, like get to where you want to be, and follow the rules as you need to. That's what Mars in Capricorn does. He's following orders, following the rules. But he's a great soldier, So again, that can be conflicted. So in the 7th house, Mars hates the 7th house. I have Mars in the 7th house in my chart. Mars doesn't really know what to do in the 7th house. So Mars in Capricorn in the 7th would mean that you have a Cancer rising. So this is, depends on your chart, really, what the condition of your Venus is, and if you have other planets, in your chart in the 7th, you've got Mars entering there. It brings some energy into the 7th house, but it also, if you have it natally there, it usually doesn't know what to do, because it's expecting conflict. It's just not sure how to deal with conflict. So it can also bring in martial types of people, people with very strong masculine sides. It can be a woman who's got a very strong masculine side. So Mars transiting your 7th can bring that type of people. And 7th house is not just our intimate partner. It can also be very close friends, people who are in your inner circle. But again, it can bring conflict. So if there's conflict going on there already, it can bring it to a head, which is sometimes not pleasant. But sometimes that's what you need to have happen. So if Mars is in your, entering your 4th, that means that's not spectacular either, because that's conflict potentially entering your home, and that's often not a great thing. Hopefully this is helpful for people. Mars in Capricorn is, as I said, I don't think you can, it's hard to get your head around Mars in Capricorn, which is, I think, the reason that modern astrologers tended to say that Mars was exalted in Leo, or they made other stuff up, which is wrong. But it's like dealing with a placement like that, and not being willing to look into what's really going on, essentially, not having the right metaphors. You could, that displacement just becomes very confusing. Okay, so you can find me at michaelmsuter.com. I'm starting a podcast, which is the Esoteric Astrology Podcast. Mostly just going to be me speaking on subjects, but I'm hoping to have guests. And you can also find me on Substack at Daimon, Daimon. Also, it's another spelling of Damon, seed, astrologer.